The next thing we're going to look at is how to convert other types of sequences into a list. So let's open up a terminal and start the interactive interpreter with Python. And if I have let's say I have a tuple, my tuple is what I'll call it, and it's got, some stuff in here. Let's see, I made a mistake somewhere. Oh, I forgot this closing quote. Let me fix that. So I've got this tuple here, and let's say that I, wanted to insert something in there. Well, I can't really because, tuples are immutable. I couldn't do something like, say, 2 is equal to, does not support item assignment. So it'd be nice if I could make this tuple into a list to be able to do that. Well, I can say I'll create a new variable called my list, and you can use the list function to convert a tuple or anything into a list. And then if we look at my list, now this tuple that we had up here is now made into a list. And now I can say my list and then if I look at my list, oh, it actually inserted it in that way. So actually, this is interesting. When I assigned this to this, it converted it into individual elements. It's not really what I want to do, so I'm going to go back and rebuild my list. Let's look at it again. And then what I should have done is inserted this in as a list. And then we'll look at my list. And that's what I want to do. It added another blah in there. So this list function is very useful, where we converted a tuple into a list by just saying, hey, Python, make this a list, and inside of the parentheses we put the thing we want to make into a list. In fact, you can do that with a string too. So if I had name is equal to Rob Garner, and then I said name as a list, is my variable name, and I were to list name, let's see what it has. We can see that it took all the characters of this string and made them individual elements and turned it into a list of characters. And there's the reverses too. You can take a list, for example, let's take a look at my list. If I want to make that a tuple, we can see that we can go back and forth. We can make things into lists, we can make things into tuples, and then similarly we can take name, we can say name after conversion, whatever we want to call this, is equal to str for string, and put in name as a list, And then let's look at name after conversion. Oh. Yeah. Now this is a little different because what you can see is it did convert it into a string, but it took the whole list and put it in as separate characters. So the str function, when you go from a string to a list, you get individual characters. When you go from a list to string, this is actually just a string with what the list looks like as a string. So str doesn't quite do the reverse that a tuple does, but it does convert things to a string. We actually have to use a join function, which we'll look at when we use string to reconvert a list or a tuple into its original form. So in any case, if we want to convert something to a list, we just use the list function. And if we want to convert something to a tuple, we use the tuple function. And if we want to convert something to a string, we use a string function. Just realize that when you convert it to a string, it doesn't always do, it's going to do it a little, it's not going to do exactly the reverse of what it did. Thank you very much.